welcome to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Thanks for hanging out with us this week. We're going to talk about what's going on in the world of craft beer. And with craft beer, there's always something going on. There's always a little bit of drama, a little bit of intrigue, maybe a weird story or two, and I look for the weird stories. But I am Brian Hewitt, and Tim is on assignment this week, sourcing exotic fragrances from Southeast Asia, or so he tells me. So with me is the one and only, thank goodness, Mo Mike Nate. Mo Mike Nate, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. And Mo Mike Nate is definitely apt this week. I've got more of the microphone airtime this week. Brian, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's been a weird week, man. I found out today that at the day job, I'm abruptly changing projects I'm working on. It's a good thing. Actually, the project I was working on went really well. My contribution to it has come to a close. I've been looking forward to this, but it was very sudden. Suddenly I was working at something completely different. So there's a little bit of mental fatigue happening when you have to unload all the memory buffer of the one thing and then load up the thing of the other one. And hopefully I make it through. I've got plenty of beer to prop me up. So I'm good, though. I'm good.
There you go.
Just a little, it's just been a long day. How about you? Oh, Mike Nate.
It's also been a long day for me, but differently long. I commuted to the great state of North Carolina and back for my day, and then came home and still got to look at spreadsheets for a couple of hours. So it's been a lot of shifting gears today, but happy to be here. Happy to have, according to Tim's black and white striping. Messaging. This week is a white stripe, so I am off this week, but I do have a beer in my glass. But that reminds me, let's just go right into it. And what's Brian? What do you have for the beers of the week?
Oh yes, the beers of the week. Yes. Let's not forget those beers. I pregame this week with something that I enjoy a great deal, and I still had a can or two lingering from traveling over the holidays. Man, the holidays seem like the distant past at this point. I can't even believe it. We're in February, for crying out loud. But Southbound's Mountain Jam, which is a crisp pale lager, dry hop with Citra, Amarillo, and Cascade. As I recall, it won like a World Beer Cup. I love this beer. I remember the first time I ever had it. I remember where I was. It was kind of a wow beer. I'm like, man, I really, really like this lager. And I got to say, it might have been 2017, 2018, around the time when they won the award. But always happy to see it. Unfortunately, don't see it around where I'm at too often. It doesn't make it over here, but I brought a little back with me. And you know what? If I'm hanging out watching a big game, I think this is the beer I'd like to have. If I can find some, I might grab a sixer of it just specifically for that reason. So good one. If you can find that, if you're in Georgia, probably that's where you're going to find it. So somewhere on the coast, probably. But now let's get to now, because that's important. Pipeworks. I'm drinking their Excellent Expedition, which is a New England IPA with Azacca, Cryo Amarillo. I don't know if I've seen Cryo Amarillo before. Cryo Simcoe, and that's it, hop-wise. And it's good. It's good. It's very tropical, but a little, I would say not sour, but kind of edgy tropical. It's good. I'm looking for the right words, but some nice fruity character to it. Enjoying that a great deal.
Would you say it's good or excellent? Because it is an excellent expedition.
It's good. I'm waiting to see on the excellence. I think it's trending toward excellent. I'm not decided on the excellence yet of this expedition. But so after the show, when we hang out with the Patreon folks, well, the little thing we like to call the after party, I will be breaking out a collaboration between Other Half and Monkish called All Puggle Everything, as in the dogs. I think there's a hot blend involved in this. And it's not clear to me what it is, but it might actually go to benefit pug dogs, I think. I'm not sure. But anyway, cool. All Puggle Everything is a New England double IPA with Fuggle, obviously, given the name, Citra, and Nectaron hops. And I do like that one. As I recall, it's been a week or two since I last had one, so we'll see how that goes. But how about you, Mo Mike Nates? You are off white striping today, I guess?
Yes, I am white striping this week, so I'm off. So in my glass currently from Dos Equis, I've got the Lime and Salt Zero. So this is their lime lager. I really enjoy this beer during the summer, sitting by the pool when it's really hot. But I saw this in the stores and I said, try this out. It's not too bad. It's very lime. little bit of salt, and I wonder how much of that is overshadowing
Does
the the general flavor characteristics you get when you drink a non-alcoholic brew. 'Cause,
does it taste like beer? Is my question with something like that. When you've got the lime and it's also non-alcoholic, is it a little bit of like a lime and salt type of thing, or does it taste like beer plus those things?
there's a hint of beer in there at some point, but it very quickly is washed out by the lime and the salt.
Okay. So good, would you say, or okay?
Decent.
Okay.
Decent. It's not my favorite non-alcoholic I've ever had, but it's not my least favorite non-alcoholic I've ever had. So it's
Okay.
somewhere middle lower of the pack.
Middle, lower, upper middle class. Okay, got it.
Yeah. We're talking economics, beeronomics. And then on deck from there, we've mentioned this brand a few times when we're talking about non-alcoholic spirits, but Lyres, Lyre''S, that has a line of canned cocktails. And so for the first time, I'm trying their Amalfi Spritz, which I think is somewhat similar to an Aperol Spritz. But yeah, I'm excited to try this. This was just something that I was in my local shop looking at non-alcoholic options and saw it was on sale for dry January. And I was like, yeah, I'll go ahead and put it up and see how it goes.
I don't remember if I've ever asked you about this, but have you ever crossed paths with the phony Negroni? That's I picked up. I think they come in 2-packs, and they're like, was it cylinder or what, the conic thing that they're shaped like? And as I recall, I liked it, and I saw a bottle of it that I'd forgotten for a while. I put it in the fridge. I haven't gotten into it, but I remember liking it. Have you tried that one, and did you like it?
So I have not tried it. I do come across it in the stores all the time, and actually, I would be remiss not to announce that Brian did come over to mine and Party Nate's house over the weekend, and we had a small bottle share. We played some 31, we played some cards, and so we had a good time. And you did bring it up there. And yes, I have seen it. I've never actually partaken in it, and so I don't know how good it is. But Brian, it sounds like you've already gone through it. Do you enjoy it?
I remember liking it, but I had one bottle of it, and then I forgot about the other one, and I just remembered I put it in the fridge earlier this week with the intent of having it before the show, and I forgot about it again, but at least it's in the fridge and ready to go. You mentioned the bottle share. Do you remember what the one was, the crazy one from Burial that had the laundry list of ingredients, including like wormwood, and I think there were fermented coffee beans in it? That one, that still blows my mind. It's crazy how breweries can come up with a list of ingredients like that. And I think it was inspired by an Amaro. So this kind of ties in a little bit with what we're talking about here. Yeah, with your Amalfi Spritz. So that's a little bit of an Amaro type of thing. And this is a stout inspired by Amaro. And it had like eucalyptus in it. I think it had like juniper berries. It's the wildest thing I have ever seen in my life. Maybe not the wildest, but it's up there. It's up there for sure.
Yeah, it was definitely there. I unfortunately did not check it in.
Did you not? Hold on. I'm looking to see if I can find it here. Of course, Untapped is being super slow on it. I think I was actually very good. Yes, below the pines in the ashen veins of the underscape. Let me see. Let me just read off this. Yes, Imperial Stout with Genetian, which I don't actually remember what that is. Juniper, peppermint, star anise, wormwood, bitter orange peel, yarrow, spruce tips. Oh, that's right, spruce tips. Eucalyptus fermented coffee beans, which is possibly the craziest ingredient I've ever seen. That's not that, part of a whale that was smoked. Oak honeycombs and vanilla bean. And let me tell you, that was from 2025. I think it was an anniversary beer. That was fantastic. And I got to give a shout out to Burial for coming up with something that crazy and for making it work. That's incredibly impressive. And they say it was inspired by the Italian Amaro Braulio, which I don't know, but I've seen it before. So anyway, yeah, I got us off track here a little bit, but that was good, right?
Yeah, no, that was really tasty, really well executed. Despite having a paragraph of adjuncts that they included in this beer, you could, if you paid attention to it, you could pick out which ones you were tasting. And so it was really well executed. But Brian, also before you showed up to our house on Saturday, you went and checked out a brewery in Austell, Georgia called Frog Rock. How did that go?
That went really well. Yeah, yeah. So a friend of ours had just taken over brewing for them, and they had an entire list of beers that he's reworked from their portfolio, put his own particular unique spin on them, and to good effect. It was the ones I had were great. They had a couple of casks. I missed this. They had casks on. So I forget what one of them was. I want to say was it a milk stout? Something velvet, something or other. There was an oatmeal one that was heavily coffee that was a little too far in the coffee, even for me. It was straight up like a lightly carbonated cup of coffee, and even the brewer's like, yeah, you know what, I could have backed off of the coffee a little bit on that. It's like, yeah, you think I was pulling the coffee bean out of my teeth at that time? So no, but the stuff that they're doing is great. It's a cool little place. They got a neat little back area with like a fire, it's not even a fire pit. It's like a giant chimney and a stage and all that. So you wouldn't expect it's out in Austell, Georgia. You wouldn't expect from driving on the street what they have going on, but a neat little indoor place, a fun outdoor place for when the weather is nice and the beer is good. It's only just going to get better because they're dialing it in, because he's still, they still have some old product they're working through. They're making changes to get to the new regime under the new Brewers. So it's yeah, I had a good time, man. I had a good time, and I got to hang out with a bunch of cool people playing pinball, and we played Star Wars pinball for. Well, I didn't play. I played once, maybe twice. They were entirely too good for me. I was watching them. I was like, these guys have rankings like in the state. Like I'm 30th in the state for the various competitions they've done. I don't even know how exactly that works. I just know I like playing pinball. These people were great at it. But I was watching them and picking up techniques, and the fun thing about pinball is you can watch other people play and say, oh, that's how you get scores. That's what you need to do to get your bonuses and get things up. So it was a lot of fun. So I think that they believe they're the only place around within 10 miles that has a pinball machine, but they have the Star Wars one. And so go there for some great beer if you're in Austell, Frog Rock. Great beer. Play you some pinball, hang out, near the fire pit if that's up and running, and it was a good time. You should have joined me. It was good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Brian, talking about beer sales, what's going on with the Wholesalers and Brewers Association?
Yeah. Isn't it fun when Parasite blames the host for health problems? Yeah, sorry, that's another story. It has nothing to do with this. Anyway, so there's a little bit of a mild drama between the National Wholesalers Association and the Brewers Association. Recently, Lester Jones, the chief economist for the National Beer Wholesalers Association, stated that the real problem with the beer market right now is a supply problem, and that the industry should focus on that first, stop pointing fingers at the economy and the consumers. He says that the current supply problem was fueled by cheap money and the government grants that led to too many breweries open, especially craft breweries. Matt, and I'm sorry to you, Matt. I'm going to say your name, and it's going to be terrible. Gakouch? I'm not sure how to say his last name, but he is an economist for the Brewers Association. Much respect. I like what you do. Love you. Sorry about the name. But he has some thoughts on this. He argues that blaming the beer supply passes the buck and ignores the massive drop in consumer demand. And there's no denying there has been a drop in consumer demand. That's just the reality. The reality is that while craft beer lost 1.6 million barrels between 2021 and 2024 in sales, big beer lost 15.4 million barrels in sales. So 1.6 million versus 15.4 million barrels. The decline is an industry-wide big beer problem and not just a craft beer saturation problem, which is how it's being painted. Per capita beer consumption dropped from 29 to 23.1 gallons annually since 2010. So it's down that much, from 29 gallons annually to 23.1 gallons between, I guess that's the last 16 years. People just aren't, they aren't just choosing other beers. They are drinking less alcohol overall, and they're spending their money on other discretionary hobbies, not the least of which is sports betting, which I guess is actually kind of a significant drain on alcohol sales, if you can believe it. He further argues that instead of the three tiers blaming each other, the Brewers Association economist does this way, that they need to collaborate to right size the supply and fix beer's messaging problem to reach modern consumers. I predicted. I like this stuff. I like exactly what he's saying. Apologies again about the name. I think this is great, but I predict we're not going to see a change in attitude from the distributors. Many of them would be happy to see craft beer disappear entirely because that's not where they're making their money. And they will continue to pay off politicians so they can retain their mandated stranglehold on the industry, which gives them no incentive to do anything different than what they do. So it's for the children, of course. Of course. But
yeah.
If Tim were here, of course, right now he would remind me that there are distributors that we actually like who provide very real value to the brewers, the retailers, and the consumers. So I don't want to paint with a broad brush and say all distributors are evil. A lot of them are. But I'm specifically thinking locally of the guys like Modern Hops and Liberator, and I believe Liberator may have closed down shop, unfortunately, but we like those guys. They do a good job. They're great for the retailers, they're great for the consumers, and they're great for the breweries that just need to get a little bit of their product around. So love what they're doing. So I don't know. You worked for a little while, Mo Mike Nate, with a distributor. What thoughts do you have about this take?
So I specifically actually worked for Modern Hops, and one thing I liked about working for a smaller distributor is we were a little bit fairer in our contract building. Usually with a bigger distributing house, when you sign a contract, it's kind of like you're married for life to that distributor. It's very difficult to get out of your contract. Yes. Whereas with Modern Hops, it was like, if you find something bigger and better, with enough upfront notice, you can be released from your contract pretty easily. So it was nice working for a smaller guy, but the trouble with our portfolio at the time, and it's been about 6 years, it's been about 5 years since I last worked for them. They would bring in these big, pricey 4-packs and 2-packs, and while they're nice and very tasty, even back then, people were starting to slow down on their purchasing habits.
True.
And so it kind of, thinking of it from this perspective, it kind of lends to the Brewers Association saying, or the wholesalers saying, it's an oversupply issue. Like, slow down on the LTOs or slow down on the seasonals, and just focus on what you do really well. And honestly, I wish we would go back to where there was a time when we got excited about different taproom only releases.
Oh yeah.
And various beer events throughout the city and the state at large. And you just don't really get that anymore. A lot of the stuff that you see on the shelves sitting there is stuff that you used to be so excited to get a chance to get. Or even like, I remember when KBS used to be a limited time offering, and now it's year round. I remember when local brewery Orpheus, their Transmigration of Soul was limited mainly because of the hops they used in it. But
oh yeah,
in the time that I was a beer buyer for a liquor store, they actually flipped it over to be a year-round offering. And so while it's nice to have it there, it didn't sell as well. Starbucks does a thing really well where their Pine Spring latte or their pumpkin spice latte is only available for a certain period of the year, and people go bananas for it. And then they turn it off and they wait until it's turned back on.
Indeed. And you know what? With the supply problem, I actually kind of agree with it. When you talk about the taproom releases, there was a point at which every time Create Your Comforts came out with a taproom special release, these didn't go into the market. There wasn't nearly as much. Mm-hmm. You had to go because they were hard to come by. They were rare, and that was the only time you're going to get them. And for me, for a long time, I had all of them. I felt pressure to get all of them. But then they started releasing them every week and during the week. And in that case, it did actually become a supply problem, not because there was too much beer. People were buying the beer still. The supply made it less special because there was a lot more of it. Now, me back in the day would have been angry to hear me saying this because I thought that they were reducing the supply of Tropicalia for a while to make it hotter, and they weren't. We were just buying it too fast. So, but no, for real though, you got to cool it with some of the special stuff. You got to make stuff that's special, truly special, not muddy the water, not flood it out with stuff that's a little less special. And yeah, man, it's a balancing act. If you've got people coming out and buying every bit of the stuff you release on a weekly basis, the people who release a new beer every week, man, great. I love it. I love it still working for you. Other places, I feel like it might not be working so well anymore, but I don't know, who's to say, you know?
Yeah, and it's tough seeing, kind of like Spider-Man meme where people are just pointing fingers at each other.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's pretty apparent that the industry as a whole is hurting. And so regardless of what the actual causality of it is, still go out and support your local brewery, go out and buy that 6-pack either directly from them or when you see it on the shelf at your local beverage supply store.
Indeed, indeed. But something that's that is still selling well these days, and supply does not seem to be an issue for, is non-alcoholic beers. And I've got a story about some surprising insights into non-alcoholic beer sales in 2025. A surprising 74% of non-alcoholic beverage buyers in 2025 were new to the category, showing that market is still very much in the discovery phase. If you thought this was maturing at all, no, it's still really early days for non-alcoholic beer. So we got a lot of potential upside. Also, the smaller niche brands are carving out space in this market, with some of the bigger brands like Athletic and Heineken actually losing a little market share in the past year to some of these smaller brands because they're showing up. They didn't have the competition that they in the past that they do now. 94% of non-alcoholic buyers still buy alcohol, which is a good thing to hear. People aren't necessarily quitting. They are moderating by mixing non-alcoholic products into their daily, their regular rotation, much like you are, Mike Nate, currently this year. Non-alcoholic beer is still the king of non-alcoholic beverages. It owns 83% of the non-alcoholic market share for all beverages. NA Spirits has the smallest share, and it's also the fastest growing segment. It's up over 70% year over year. NA Craft Beer accounts for 36% of non-alcoholic beer sales. Considering that craft beer only makes up 13% of the total beer market, craft is punching way above its weight in the NA space. 36% of beer sales, but they're only 13% of the total beer market, so they're outperforming in non-alcoholic beer. And the number of companies making NA products of any kind jumped from 91 in 2021 to 213 in 2025. And we're still in the discovery phase at this point. So this is, I'm trying to think of what year this would be like relative to craft beer. We're like 2014, 2013 when it comes to NA. So we've got a good couple of years where there could be some explosive, I don't know, 2-digit, not 3-digit, but like 2-digit growth going on with non-alcoholic stuff. I don't see it slowing down. Are you buying more? I guess you would be because you're zebra striping it all year.
Well, I'm buying more because I'm consuming more of it. Ordinarily year over year I try and take a full 30 days off, but this year with the zebra striping all year I'll be taking 26 weeks off. And so I'll be consuming more. So of course I'm buying more of it, but it doesn't really surprise me that there is the high percentage is surprising me, but it doesn't really surprise me that the category as a whole is still in a discovery phase. I mean, year over year, you're still getting a lot of people who are reevaluating their intake. I mean, I was just talking to a friend today, former coworker from Modern Hops, who he said that he doesn't really drink as much anymore. And if he does, he'll have a little 1 or 2 ounces of whiskey throughout the course of a week, but he doesn't really go through beer like he used to. And he was talking about some of the NA stuff. And so it's not really surprising that there's still a lot of discovery and growth happening in that category. I am blown away that 36% of NA beer sales is craft beer. And I wonder how much of that is due to Athletic driving that category. But Athletic losing some of the market share it's understandable with smaller niche NA brands carving out space. It makes sense that Athletic would lose some of that ground that they had an early overwhelming presence in.
For sure. They were early. They had a lot of funding. They had a lot of great ideas. They had a quality beverage, a quality product, and there wasn't a lot of people out there that could compete. So they obviously exploded. They're going to lose a little of it. They can't have 100% of the market share indefinitely with everybody else coming up, making good and interesting non-alcoholic beers. Something occurred to me this week. I actually was in the mood, like midday around the lunch hour. I'm like, I kind of want to have a non-alcoholic beer, and I went looking, and I'm running. I nearly have none. So I found one in the fridge. I drank it. I'm like, man, I need to go buy some more. So I I don't know where this came from. It was just kind of a random impulse that I'm like, I could go for an NA beer. I've actually wanted the lighter bodiness of it, like the carbonation, the light body. I wanted that without the effects of alcohol, because midday. So I wanted something exactly like that. And like that would absolutely hit the spot. And I was lucky. I had one left and I'm like, I got to go out and buy some more. I'm like I haven't been thinking about it at all. And suddenly it just kind of hit me. So I don't know. Maybe it caught on for me too. So I'm thinking I'm going to go out. I probably need to buy some fresh athletic beer and have that on hand for, why not have one at lunch? I don't ever think about that, but why not? So
yeah, give you a little liquid courage to take on that new project that you were whiplashed into. But hey, Brian, and not to mention just the NA beer sales from 2025, but what can you share about alcohol sales for 2025?
Yeah, I've got some more fun alcohol sales. I'm glad you brought that up. So we've got some generational booze stats, in fact, thanks to the Beverage Trends report from marketing research firm Circana by way of Brewbound. Love Brewbound. I don't mention them often enough. I enjoy the reporting a lot. The big headline here is that despite the industry's absolute obsession with Gen Z, they accounted for only 4% of total alcohol sales in 2025. And man, is the industry obsessed with Gen Z. It's just nothing but Gen Z all day, every day. Give them a minute. There's still a significant percentage of Gen Z that is still under 21. And it just seems to be lost on people. But anyway, Gen X, hooray us, is in with 34% and baby boomers with 36%. We together account for a combined 70% of the market, while millennials are holding the middle ground with 25%. They need to step it up a little bit. They found that consumers across the board are drinking less but drinking better. Super premium beer volume grew to 40.7% of the category, stealing share from both budget value brands and standard premium brands. The extremes is where we're seeing the growth these days when it comes to alcoholic beverages, both high ABV products like Buzz Balls and long beers, the stovepipes, the 19.2 ounce cans you see in convenience stores. We've talked about them. They're up 11% in terms of sales, and non-alcoholic products are up 26% in terms of sales. Interestingly, they found that while hemp-derived THC drinks are up 48%, which is good for people, selling those. Like, are you still doing that, Mo Mike? Is that still even legal?
Still doing that, yeah.
The data suggests that they are not a direct substitute for alcohol, which makes me feel good. Alcohol remains the preferred choice for meals and social events, while cannabis is used more for solo relaxation and wellness, I guess, as dealing with stress, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. I like this division of labor when it comes to these different beverages. We can coexist. Have your THC thing when you need to calm down, but when you're out with friends, go have your booze. So I like this. I think we can live together. I know we've been fighting, but I think we can give peace a chance here.
Well, and I feel like by we've been fighting, you and Tim have been fighting, and I'm just like, yeah, let's just get along, man. We're all here just trying to convince people to have a good time and blow off some steam. And the cool thing is that all these, we've talked about it before, but all these bans that are rippling around, both on the state level and on the federal level against THC, a lot of the wholesalers associations are actually coming out in support of hemp and trying to reverse the ban. And so there is a lot of support, and it's neat to see that while the category of THC infused beverages is up, that it's not necessarily stepping on the toes. Because at the end of the day, we both know that beer is my first love in beverages and will always be my first love in beverages. And so I want to see beer succeed, and just as much as I want to see the industry I currently work for succeed.
Yeah. I like hearing that. I was just looking at her comments. It looks like somebody's sipping on some Ghost Prime, Joshua Ryan. That's a good beer right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I want to shout that out. That's good stuff. Did Tyler say he's sipping on something from Lagunitas or Sierra Nevada?
He said he saw a can that was similar to that 8.4 ounce Sierra Nevada Pils can.
Okay.
But he couldn't recall which one it was.
Mm-hmm. Got it. All right, cool. All right, let's move on. I've got some information about beer styles. New beer style information. The Brewers Association has released the 2026 edition of the Beer Style Guidelines. And the most notable change, there's not a huge number of changes here, is the most notable is one addition, the rice lager. If you didn't know, it wasn't in the style guidelines before now. The reason for adding it is that rice lagers have been growing in popularity as consumers favor light-bodied, easier drinking beer options. So yeah, it just makes sense. Not only are they typically sessionable, nice and crisp, but they generally pair well with rich and spicy foods. So when I used to go to Thai restaurants all the time, always had a rice lager. Always, it went so well together, and I never really thought about the two, but it was just what was there. So it was great stuff. Previous additions to the guidelines in the past were also under the lager umbrella, including West Coast style pilsners, Italian style pilsners, Czech and Mexican lagers. So lagers have been getting added in droves to the style guidelines to adapt to what people are interested in. I like seeing people develop a lot of intrigue into specific niche lager styles, because there's a lot of territory there, and I don't think it was being served well previously. The Brewers Association has also made other minor adjustments to style guidelines, mostly in the form of updates to style descriptions based on feedback from beer judges, like the World Beer Cup and the Great American Beer Festival competition. But many of the changes were made to Belgian and German styles to better reflect both traditional brewing practices and how these styles continue to evolve. I do not have specifics about those. I looked into it, and I think the only way you're going to get exactly what the small changes were there is to actually read the two style guides side by side, and I didn't get to do that, so not enough time for that. But there you have it. We've got rice lagers now in for beer competitions, so that'll be great. I love a good rice lager.
To be honest, they've been more prolific over the last couple of years. I know we've talked about it here, but I see more and more expressions of that in addition to the imported rice lagers that I see in the market. So it's cool to see the craft brewers getting into the game, and then the BJCP officially creating a style guideline for that. That's pretty neat.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, before we continue on, Brian, how about we give some love to our good friends at Trick and Tap?
You and I are on the same wavelength. I was just thinking that we need to do that. So, yes, the big game is almost here, and the best place to watch it is at Truck and Tap. If you were thinking the best place was your couch, let me ask you, do you have 20 taps of fresh craft beer at your couch? If you do, carry on, much respect. But if you don't, why not drop by your local Truck and Tap? Not only do they have all the beers, all of them, they also have special cocktails and plenty of game day eats. So now, how about some easy game day beer picks for the week? At Truck and Tap Woodstock, I'm going with a classic Genesee Cream Ale. It's been quenching game day thirst since 1960. We're big fans of Jenny Cream here. It's a quality beer. It stands the test of time. And I think it's actually on tap at every Truck and Tap this week. So if you hear that and you want it and you're wondering which one you need to go to any of them. I think it's on all of them right now. At Truck and Tap Duluth, I'm getting New Realms Euphonia off the side pull tap. Yes, the side pull tap. It's a crisp traditional German Pilsner with a bright floral hop aroma. I love this beer. I love the side pull tap, and it just sounds like a good time beer. So at Truck and Tap Alpharetta, my pick is Monday Night's 404 Light Lager. It's brewed to be crushable, and it's the lightest, most sessionable beer on my beer list for this week. And it's coming in at a mere 4.04% ABV, so you can enjoy these all game without getting into too much trouble. And finally, at the Lawrenceville location, I'm going with another side pull pick, Blue Jackets Light Years. I haven't had this one, but they're calling it a quaffable, balanced lager with subtle, spicy, and floral hop aromas. That sounds really good to me. And not too high in the ABV, around 5%. So again, something you can drink without getting into too much trouble. And there you have my game day beer picks for the week. As always, if you'd like to see the full tap list before stopping by, take a look at truckandtap.com. The taps change quickly, and you never know what great new beer might go on tap. And if you'd like to see what the food trucks are serving and what events are happening, your trivia, your karaoke, your big game watch parties, you can find that at truckandtap.com. You can also look for their Facebook pages, too. They do post some stuff there as well. But everything you need to know can be found at truckandtap.com, so check that out. And thank you to Truck and Tap for your support.
Thank you, Truck and Tap.
Yeah. All right, we got a fun one up next. Have you heard about? I'm going to ask you before we even get into it. Minocqua Brewing Company in Wisconsin. Well, Mike, have you heard of these guys?
I have heard of Wisconsin, but I've not heard of Minocqua Brewing.
I am really
No.
relieved that you have heard of Wisconsin. I mean, I know that education standards are dropping a lot, and
Hey,
you can't assume that everybody's heard of places like Wisconsin. I mean,
to be fair, it's been about 20 years since I've been in college, so
Wow, you that old? Man, that means I'm ancient. Anyway, all right, so let's get into it. We've got some political beer drama. It's getting national attention. Minocqua, and I'm not sure if I'm even saying that right because I'm not from Wisconsin, but Minocqua Brewing Company had a Facebook post go viral in the past week or so, maybe 2 weeks, I'm not sure. In it, they say, and this is a quote, I'm not saying it, I want to make that clear because I don't want to get us in trouble. Free beer all day long the day he dies. And they don't specifically say who they are talking about, but the hints and context make it pretty clear that they're referencing a particularly polarizing head of state, if you know what I mean. The brewery suggested it might happen in a few months and specified the promotion, and I don't know how they would know that, but and specified the promotion would be honored at whichever of their tap rooms was open on the occasion, depending on the season. So the brewery's owner also apparently confirmed his stance to Fox News Digital, stating he would welcome anybody to celebrate this event with the sole condition that no red hats are allowed. So that's another little clue as to what we're talking about here. Ordinarily, I would say this kind of thing wouldn't go well for a brewery. I've seen that it usually doesn't. I've seen people delete Facebook accounts, social media accounts, and all that sort of thing, but Minocqua Brewing Company is apparently well known for progressive political activism, and the owner runs a super PAC opposing Republican officials. And I did a quick scan of their Facebook post comments and expecting to see a lot of arguments and yelling, but I didn't see much in the way of backlash. So some news stories were saying there has been some backlash, but they didn't mention specifically what it was, and I didn't see it in the comments. And I was sitting here trying to think, it's like, how does this work for them? It seems to work okay for them, but I've seen other breweries nearly destroyed by making very, inflammatory political statements online. I think it's because they have a history of doing this. People expect this. I'm like, I think if you come out of the gate and nobody has any idea what you think and then suddenly surprise people with your opinion, it's going to go bad for you. But if they know this is where you're at, then it's not a big deal. So I was surprised by it. I had never heard of them.
If they know, if the people who purchase from this brewery know what they're getting into with them as far as their political affiliation and how they express themselves in that regard, then yeah, I mean, my opinion going into this was, I think you should keep politics out of non-political businesses. I understand that it's your private business and that you can do or say what you want, but you also have to understand that there's consequences to that. And if you're going to run a promotion like this, then you run the risk of alienating potentially a chunk of your customer base. But based off of what you said about how there's really not been a lot of backlash on their Facebook comments, it sounds like they've already alienated that
I think
potential
certain amount of
base
pre-alienation that occurred before this leading into this, which prepared them for
and
it.
if who's left over is enough for them to keep the doors open, and this is how they want to conduct business, then good on them. I mean, they have every right to do it that way. I disagree with doing business that way, but if that's how they want to do it and they can remain successful doing it, then good on you, I guess.
I think it's a fascinating case study. That's what I got to say. I'm just like, I'm curious. I'm like, I was waiting for some hammer to fall, and I don't think it's gonna. I think people are just going to be fine with it and they're going to move on. And it's like, it made me think about it. It's like, what makes this work for one and not for another? And honestly, I guess it's just preparation. If you've got your client, your customer base, refined to a certain group of people, then this kind of thing works. And man, I'm always going to be pro, the First Amendment, free speech, whatever. You say whatever you want, and no obvious threat was made. I think it's clear that it's kind of sort of I don't know if it's a joke. Honestly, it's kind of like it's one of those things like I really want my guess is maybe they really want this to happen, but also like there's no threat here. I don't see this being a threat. So I find this thing fascinating. It's just drama. It's popcorn stuff for me. I I watch it and like I don't have one feeling about it one way or the other. I'm like, it's just what it is. But I figured it'd be interesting to bring up in the show just because it's such an interesting case study around beer. So yeah.
And it's one of those things that usually you hear smaller size breweries doing stuff like this, but even back in the day when I was buying beer, Stone came out with a beer that sort of let their consumers know their stance.
Oh, yeah,
and the
didn't
beer was
they?
called I'm Peach.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yes, they did come out with an Iron Peach.
And back in the day, I had a diehard group of men who bought Stone all the time. And when the Enjoy Bars came out, they were the first to grab 6-packs. And like we were blowing through Stone so quick. As soon as that beer went out, it's like Stone was dead in my store. I couldn't keep buying it because it would just expire sitting on the shelves. They immediately switched their buying preference. And so
they had a silhouette on it too. So it was pretty clear what it was.
Oh yeah.
I forgot about that one. That's right. That's a case where nobody had any kind of warning that this might come out. Nobody expected this. You didn't have people on the same wavelength as you before you drop this bomb on them. I'm like, yeah, you're gonna have people run off on that. So yeah, I get it. And especially in I think the area of I guess it's still kind of in Atlanta, but I don't know, maybe a little bit more conservative area or something like that. I get it. I can see why that would happen. So
back then I did live further away from Atlanta, so
yeah,
less blue back out that way. But yeah, so it's yeah. But yeah, so it's one of those things that I think I support the First Amendment, but maybe be a little tactful about it. But moving right along, Brian.
Yes.
We both have pretty big beer cellars. You came down and you pilfered through like my little beer corner and got your stouts, and we opened up over the weekend. And I keep hearing rumors about your beer collection, but would you ever try a 150-year-old bottle of beer?
If it were open and I was given a chance to taste it, I think I would have to taste it, even knowing that I think it would just be it would be bad. Honestly, it would taste at the best I could ever hope for is to not be horrible. Like 150 years, that's what I'm thinking. But it's funny you bring that up. As it turns out, archaeologists did in fact unearth a rare, intact 150-year-old alcohol bottle in an excavation in Alta, Utah, which was once a boomtown in the 1870s. They had no idea what the liquid was inside the bottle, but they knew that it was intact and there was liquid in there. To identify the contents, the archaeology team partnered with High West Distillery. And I got to say, High West is great. I'm a big fan. They're not paying me or anything. Midwinter Night's Dram is beautiful. Love Yippee-Ki-Yay. Love their double rye. Love this stuff. Anyway, experts used a Coravin device to extract liquid through the cork, preventing further oxidation of the liquid and preserving the integrity of the boozy artifact. If you're wondering what a Coravin device is, and I'm not sure if I'm even saying that right, I had to look it up. It's basically a device that uses a thin medical-grade needle to pierce the cork. It then injects or pumps in argon, which is an inert gas that doesn't interact with any compounds whatsoever. So totally safe to come in contact with whatever. They use that, the pressure of that, to extract the wine or the spirit or whatever, enabling the long-term preservation of the contents inside the cork bottle. So they're basically filling up whatever the space was taken out with the liquid with a very neutral gas that won't have any negative impacts. So based on the sediment and the appearance and the smell, the team determined the beverage was, in fact, beer, like you said, not wine or spirits, which is a little surprising, but they did a full sensory panel on this mysterious ancient beer, too, which is fascinating. They say it smelled like oxidized fruit, leather, and a little vinegar, and I'm not really surprised by any of that. They said the beer was cloudy and a little milky towards the bottom due to unsettled sediment. And they tasted the extracted. They had a little left over from the amount they extracted for testing. They tasted a sample that they withdrew, and they called it not unpleasant. But they also didn't, they didn't know what it tasted like. They just said it didn't taste like gasoline, and it didn't taste like chewing tobacco spit. So it wasn't anything that was probably noxious or poisonous or anything like that. Researchers hope to analyze the sediment for viable yeast strains. If they find any, this could allow modern brewers to recreate the 19th century mining town beer. And even if they don't find viable yeast strains, I think if they can identify the unviable ones, they can say, hey, this is this particular type of yeast. They might have a shot of it because we do have catalogs of yeast these days. We don't have every yeast on file, but we may be able to find the yeast that they used. This reminds me, this is kind of like an off the wall thing. I saw this and it reminded me of something I saw on Reddit a few years ago. I think it's a few years ago. And I always wanted to try this out. It's from the same period. Somebody recreated an Old West saloon whiskey. They call it saloon whiskey based on historical documents and articles from the time. Apparently, it was common back in the day to doctor your White Dog whiskey, whatever is being produced or available that in your surroundings or whatever, with prune syrup to make it more drinkable. So they reduce basically prune juice down to a prune syrup. And to make it, that would make it look a little bit more like it had spent some time in a barrel as well. So kind of fast forwarding on the aging. Some people think that this whole thing may have been a precursor to the old fashioned cocktail. It's like the whole concept of using a prune syrup in your White Dog whiskey, and eventually that became, hot, the old fashioned. I want to try this. I actually have a list of instructions as to how the guy did it, and I'm still planning on doing it at some point in time. I'm fascinated by it because if you ever watch a Western, they're always getting the bottle of whiskey, pulling the cork out with their teeth, they're pouring it, and it always looks purplish or something like that in those. Even I noticed that, so I'm like, they didn't have great barrel aging. Buffalo Trace wasn't back then, setting aside, old Rip Van Winkle barrels for them to age and drink on the, in the Wild West. They were just getting whatever they got and probably doctoring with, burnt molasses and other things to try to give it some character and make it drinkable. So, yeah. But anyway, yes, 150-year-old beer. They found it. They're looking into extracting yeast samples from it. And I guess they're hoping that somebody will try to rebrew whatever it was. But I answered, Mo Mike Dake, but would you actually taste 150-year-old beer that had been corked?
The chance to say that I've tried it, yes. Do I think it would be a pleasant drinking experience or even something that I would take one sip? Would it take two sips? Probably not.
I saw the video, and I think the guy that was extracting and tasting it, it was like the smallest amount of like a Glencairn glass. And I think he really just took a sip off of it just to get a taste of it. And I'm kind of jealous of the guy. Like, there's nobody else alive who's ever tasted this thing, and it's just you. And you could say whatever you want, bubblegum and unicorn farts, and people would have to believe you. They'd have no way of proving otherwise. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm curious if they're able to brew anything like it. I think the yeast is only part of the equation. They can figure out what the yeast was, but will they be able to tell what the grains were that were used in it? And did they use hops, or did they use some other kind of herbal thing to bitter it? Who knows?
To mention the water, I mean, the whole thing is just up in the air of whether or not they could reasonably recreate it.
There are so many variables. I'm like, I don't have high hopes for them actually recreating it, but if they're able to suss out all of these things, I don't know if you could, at that point with the fermentation and all the other stuff and any kind of filtration, but who knows?
Yeah. Anyways, Brian, we teased this last week, but tell me about the bear poop beer.
Oh, the bear poop beer. Yeah. And this is timely because this is a beer just in time for the Super Bowl. I don't know why, but it is. So Columbia Sportswear and Breakside Brewing, both out of Oregon, are collaborating on a beer made with bear poop for the Super Bowl. Yes, they definitely are. They're calling the beer Nature Calls and claim it's the first time beer has ever been made with this questionable substance. To make it, Columbia Sportswear sent their people out into the woods to collect American black bear scat. This was then added to brewing water at Breakside Brewing. Breakside then made the water safe to drink and then used that water to brew beer. How they made it safe to drink was not disclosed. I'm assuming boiling and maybe filtering. I don't know. Again, that's yeah. Anyway, the beer is described as being a lager with notes of huckleberry and honey. And I just got to say, berries and honey. Who could have ever predicted that from Bear Scat beer? But anyway, the beer will be available at Levi Stadium at the Columbia booth during the players' tailgate in Santa Clara for the Super Bowl. And locals in Oregon, who want to try it will also be able to get it served at Breakside tap rooms around Oregon. So if you would like your very own bear poop beer and you live in Oregon, you could check that out or look for it at the Super Bowl. I guess, if that's what you want to drink at the Super Bowl. I don't know. I'm sure it's safe to drink. I guess I would probably have to try it, but I'm a little grossed out by the whole idea, just a little bit, because of the way it's been presented. But would you drink some, Mo Mike Nate? I know you're a little squeamish about certain things.
So we've also talked about how used wastewater has been recaptured, recycled, and processed to be able to brew beer before. There was another brewery that did this. I don't think it involved specifically scat water, but if I'm told this beer tastes like huckleberries and honey, and it cleared all the testing for it to be commercially available, it's got to be safe enough to consume. Yeah, I would try it. And then if after the fact somebody said, they put beer turds in that thing before, like into the boil kettle, I would probably regret or spit out whatever is remaining in my mouth. Is that it's tough enough to know that it's made with the turds, but like, do you disclose that up front and hope that people are still willing to try it? Or do you kind of do like a little surprise gotcha? Hey, while you're drinking that huckleberry and honey lager, do you know what actually went into the production of that? I'm curious, how many pounds of scat do they have to collect in order for it to be viable enough for a commercially available beer?
That I don't know, but the old spit take, like, by the way, that was made with bear scat. Yeah, they didn't say, and I have actually seen. I've been out in the woods. I've actually seen a bear before. I'm like, not from a distance, fortunately, but out in the wild. But I've seen the piles, and I think given a little bit of time, you could collect a certain amount. But I don't know that they needed a lot. I think this is more of a symbolic thing. They just needed enough to say they did it. So I'm guessing they found a bucket, like a Home Depot bucket full of bear scat. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how long they looked. They didn't say what the ratios were, but. This is Breakside, and they win awards all the time for their IPAs. I've had a bunch of their beers. They know what they're doing. I would trust them. I'm a little turned off by this whole thing, but, we've talked about beers in the past that have either used gray water, or there was another one, I think, in Europe that used basically outhouse water or something like that from a beer festival. They actually made beer with that, and if it goes through the treatment processes, there's nothing wrong with doing that. It's just you don't want to hear about that before you drink the beer. You like, yes, all the water we consume has gone through some sort of cleaning to remove other things that have been in it, but you don't want to think about that when you're drinking the beer. Usually, well, and
to be honest, we're asking the wrong question here. You and I are asking, would we try it? I think the larger question is we need to go to Columbia and Breakwater and ask, why? Where in your thought process do you think, yeah, this is a good idea? How many layers of decision makers have to progress through yeses for you guys to actually execute on this project? Because this is such a wild thing for people to not only suggest, but then actually go out and do.
I'll tell you exactly what it was. It's the first time anybody's ever made a beer with it. And as soon as anybody heard that, like, oh yeah, we got to do it. I wonder why now with the, why Super Bowl? What's the tie into the Super Bowl? If the Chicago Bears were playing, I'm like, well, all right, there's a tie-in, but I don't get there's no bear poop tie to the Super Bowl that I can figure out. Now, I am not the most clever of fellows, so maybe I'm missing it. Maybe it's really obvious. And if it is obvious, let me know. Send me a message on X, Twitter. I'm on that, or leave a comment here on the show or something like that, and we'll figure out why the Super Bowl for this. Or maybe they're not fans of the event. I don't imagine that would be true, but maybe it's a statement about that. They're going to be there, so I don't get that either. Yeah, who knows, man? Who knows?
Maybe it's just highest foot traffic, highest exposure.
Shock value alone, man. I think that's it. So, I think that's about it. Mm-hmm. You got anything else we need to cover before we wrap it up?
Oh, I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Well, that about does it for this episode of Beer Guys Radio. I want to thank you again for hanging out with us. We hope you had a good time. We hope you weren't too revolted by any of our stories. Admittedly, some of them were pretty revolting. If you did have a good time, we hope you'll support us by telling a friend to check out the show. Maybe program it into their I was going to say iPod. Nobody has an iPod anymore. Whatever you play, podcasts on. I don't know. I lost the entire
unpopular podcasting app.
There you go. Yes. So tell a friend to do that, or subversively just force them to do it. Either way, and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you really, really enjoy the show and what we're doing here, we'd appreciate your support on Patreon. Just head over to patreon.com/beerguys. There are all kinds of fun perks, including access to our Discord server where we talk about beer and what was it? Not chicken wing caviar or McNugget caviar. Anyway, we talked about caviar, that. We talk about that kind of stuff all week long. So yeah, that's one of the fun perks of that. And we do an after party after each show for our Patreon supporters. Invite them on. We hang out. We drink another beer or two. So yeah, do that. We'd appreciate it. And with that said, we hope you have a great week. And don't forget to drink local. Cheers.